Enough of that foolishness. Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Welcome, and we say happy Sabbath to you all. I'm your brother Ananias.
Brother Ezekiel.
Brother Yakub.
And we are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And as always, it's an honor, it's a privilege to come before you to give you another edifying lesson with hopes and regards of uplifting you in the spirit and teaching you more or something new that you didn't know yesterday, so that you can add it on to your life and push on to become a better and stronger person, hopefully as a nation. But before we get started, we want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahushua being his son, who the world calls Christ in the Paleo Hebrew. But nonetheless, through his strength, sacrifice, and example, we are all able to be here today to be uplifted and edified in spirit. So, appreciate you brothers and sisters tuning in. As always, we say happy Sabbath to you one more time. And all praise to the Most High for allowing us all to push and pull throughout the week, giving us the strength and energy to do so, and protecting us all in the process. And tonight's class is going to be dealing with New Year's. As you just seen on the screen, the foolishness that our people are involved in and have no idea as to what it actually means. They just follow tradition, have been taught to do so since they came out the womb. And here we are years later, still following the same tradition, thinking that it's actually beneficial to us, but it's actually about our demise as a nation. But we don't know these things because we don't do any research. And that's what we're going to dive into tonight. So Lord willing, at the end of this class, you'll be and learn something, and you'll stop celebrating New Year's. Once you figure out what's actually behind it, what's the real motive, because for too long we've been living by lies. But we're going to get to the bottom of it tonight. So tonight's class is called The Truth Behind New Year's Eve, the Origin of the Watch Night. The truth behind New Year's Eve, the origin of the watch night. All right. So as you've seen on the screen, it was a scene that happens every year in Times Square. The countdown, they drop the ball, everybody starts celebrating, shooting off fireworks. And for us, we shoot off guns, start, celebrating as if something had changed. But we're going to get into the bottom of it tonight. All right. So we're going to start off with 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 13, because the Lord wants us as a nation of people to realize that that's not how he set things up. We as a nation are not supposed to be operating in the same fashion as these other nations. But because of these things, we in the condition that we in right now. And because what we have learned from our enemies, our oppressors, we think that or what we do now is a good life. But we celebrate lies that we have no idea about. And we're going to get into it tonight. But let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 13.
The book of 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 13. If I shut that there be no rain, if I shut up heaven that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people. Verse 14.
So the Lord is saying right here, if he shut up the heavens where there's no rain, or if he command the locusts to devour the land, meaning if he don't call it the rain, or he don't give us this knowledge, or he send locusts to devour the land, or our enemies to devour the land, or if I send pestilence along my people. Read on.
Verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land.
You see that? So we would have come back to the Lord by humbling ourselves first and foremost, to understanding who we are, coming back to the Lord and pray and seek his face and turn from our wicked ways, and then he will hear from heaven and will forgive our sins and will heal our land. But we are not being taught that we are even his people. We are taught that we are Americans, or that we are just humans, that we all are the same. That's not what you read when you open the Bible, though. We're not the same people. But the Lord is telling us as a nation of people, when we humble ourselves and come back to serving him and pray and seek his face, that he will hear from heaven. He will hear our cries. He will hear our problems, and he will heal our land, heal us as a nation of people. But we got to come back to him. First, we got to understand who we are, then come back to him. Let's go to Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. Because our people, like I said beforehand, we think that we are Americans, so we're supposed to be celebrating as Americans. That's why we do the things that we do, because we've been taught here in Babylon the Great, United States of America, to follow custom, to follow suit and whatever they tell us to do. And we do it wholeheartedly. So let's go to Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, and we're going to read to 11.
The book of Revelation, chapter 14 and verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name.
So brought that out to show you that if any man worship the beast, meaning if any man worship or follow the ways of Babylon the Great, America as you know it, the influence of this world, they're going to catch that wrath of the Most High. Let me read verse 10. It said, the same shall drink of the wine of wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels. So part of those customs, or one of those customs that our people follow behind, that will get them drinking of that cup of that wine or being burnt, would be celebrating New Year. Our people have to come back and realize, hey, we've been taught a number of lies. We got to do a little bit of research to figure out what the hell going on. Because the Lord is telling us in Revelation, and this is prophetic, but it's also speaking the truth, saying if we receive his mark in our forehead, meaning his thoughts and his ways, his customs, his tradition, the ways of this world, we're going to feel that wrath. And it says, in the smoke of their torment in verse 11, ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receive his mark in his name, the mark of his name. So our people, they don't read the Bible for the most part, or when they do read it, they read it as if it's some type of fairy tale. They read what they want to read, but they don't want to read from front to back. They cherry pick what they want to read. But the scriptures is telling us that we got to forsake the ways of this world. We got to serve Yahweh by Shem Yahushua with a joyful heart, with a mind focused on keeping these commandments and having the faith that he's going to reward us for doing the things that's required. But we here living in Babylon the Great, just trying to do what they tell us to do. You know, we just want to make money. We just want to have a good time, but we don't want no real responsibility, no accountability, you know. But us as a nation of people, we being punished above everybody else. We on the bottom of society, even though we more special in everything that you can think of. We look better, dress better, dance, run, do everything better. Think, invent, sing, dance, cook, whatever you think of, we do it better than any other nation. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. Hell, if you go ask the other nations, they will admit to it to your face. But we as a people have been so confused, misled, that we'll believe anything that they tell us or whatever the TV tell us. But as you've seen in that video, it was just a TV moment in time where people were smiling and having a good time. But all the while, us as a nation of people, we being on the bottom so long, being in captivity so long, we just been anxious just to be a part of it. Because all the while this was going on, we've been in captivity. Still are to this day, but our people figure since they can go work here, go shop here, and go drink or smoke and do whatever they want to, they free. That's not the case. But anyway, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and 33. Bear with me. I'm bringing it on in. I'm going to get to the class shortly. But I'm just letting you know a few things up front. So once again, appreciate everybody tuning in as always.
15 and what?
15 and 33.
Book of 1
Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33 and 34.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. Be not deceived. Evil communication corrupt good manners.
Read that again.
Verse 33. Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners.
Evil communications corrupt good manners. A lot of our people don't even realize that the things that we see on TV is actually evil communication. You see people high-fiving and kissing and throwing confetti everywhere. They celebrating the new year coming in. You thinking that's good. That's actually evil communication. That's ungodly. That's going against the commandments of the Lord. Read on.
Verse 34. Awake to righteousness.
Do what?
Sin not. Awake to righteousness.
Awake to righteousness. Read on.
And sin not. For some have not the knowledge of God. I speak this to your shame.
To your shame. So the Lord said, awake to righteousness. What is righteousness? Somebody give me Deuteronomy 6 and 25. It's a classic precept, but we got to bring out these things just in case it's somebody new watching that has not watched before. The Lord is telling us to awake to righteousness, us as a nation of people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, the Israelites that the Bible speaks of, not Hispanics, not Latinos, not African Americans, not Dominicans, not Puerto Ricans, Israelites. Awake to righteousness. But what does righteousness mean according to the Bible? Let's get there.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 25. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us.
You see that? It shall be our righteousness. That's what righteousness is, keeping the commandments. So let's go to the very first commandment that he gave us. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. We're going to stay in Deuteronomy for a minute. Let's go to Deuteronomy 6 and 13. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 13.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 13. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God, and serve him, and shalt swear by his name.
Read.
Verse 14. Ye shall not go after other gods. Ye shall not go after other gods, of the gods of the people which are round about you.
Read.
Verse 15. For the Lord thy God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord thy God be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth. Verse
So
16.
I meant to go to Exodus, but this will work as well. The Lord is telling us don't have no other gods before him. Now, our people right now, they probably buying outfits. If they ain't bought it already, they're going to do it next week, or they sitting up plotting on where they're going to go to celebrate the new year. They working overtime, stacking up their money so they can buy the champagne bottles, get the little fit with the little top hat, with the click clacks. You know what I'm saying? They are saying I'm going to Atlanta, I'm going to Florida, I'm going to LA, I'm going to New York, to Times Square to watch the ball drop. Right now, people are planning, scheming, plotting to go off into wickedness, to go off into idolatry, to break the commandment that the Lord gave us, and don't even know about it. Don't even know about it. Serving other gods, the gods of the other nations. Now you say, but New Year's is supposed to be representing the new year coming in. That's not the case, my brothers and sisters. That's not what you celebrate. Once again, those images that they portray to us are evil communication. They present one thing to you, but they actually got you doing something else. And we're going to bring that out here in a minute. But it's telling us not to go after other gods. That's a commandment. If we want to be righteous, we got to keep the commandments. That's what righteousness is. The Lord told us to awake to righteousness. We need to wake the hell up as a people because we sleep right now. So the Lord is telling us to wake the hell up by keeping these commandments. Come back to searching out who you are. Humble yourself first. Pray and seek me so I can heal you. Right now, we don't even know we sick. We think we good. We think that because these people put us on ships, came over here, beat our backs in, hung us, raped us, robbed us, had us working for free for them, raping us, taking everything from us, took our names, our ability to read, everything away from us, our heritage. Now that they took those yokes of iron off your neck, now you think you're free to walk around and do what the hell you want to do. Now you think you're good. They have convinced you by beating submission into you. Now you think you're good. Now they let you participate in the things that they would not let you participate in back in the day. Now you think you're straight, but you're going to learn tonight. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, because he told us not to serve no other gods. And what would happen if we went to serve these other guys unknowingly or willingly? What would happen? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, 15. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that like button. Make sure you're taking notes, though. Deuteronomy 28, 15, because this is key information that our brothers and sisters need. And it's important if you're watching to take this in, to learn, so that you can be able to teach in the future. Deuteronomy 28, 15.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 15. But it should come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Well, let's get one of them curses, because we just read what would happen if we broke the commandment. We would be cursed as a nation of people. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 64. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64.
Book of
Deuteronomy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Slaki.
Yeah.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
So we will be scattered among other nations where we're going to serve other gods. We were scattered here. So since we were brought into this land, guess what? We're going to serve other gods. Let's read on down to verse 67. It's no coincidence that we over here. It's no coincidence that we serving other guys. It's part of the curses. Go ahead.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 67.
65.
Verse 65. And among these nations, thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. For the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and falling of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
So the Lord said, amongst these nations, you're not going to have rest. You're not going to be in peace. Even though our people think right now they're in peace because they can pay their bills, because they can go to the school with everybody else, because they can go shop with everybody else, go on vacation with everybody else. You think you're in peace right now. The Lord said, I'm going to scatter you among these other nations. You ain't going to have peace. You're not going to have peace. Read on.
Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of thy life.
The Lord said you ain't going to have no assurance of your life. You're going to be living a life full of fear. Them blue and red, or blue, red, and white lights flash before you, you start sweating. You know what I'm saying? You're hyperventilating. You're paranoid. Even if you roll up at the damn red light and they pull it up beside you, you paranoid. Why? Because your life, you have no assurance of your life. You see it constantly happening on TV to your brothers and sisters. They call it police brutality. That's a curse. They get behind you, whether you doing the speed limit or not. You spook as a nation of people. The other nations, they don't care. They'll get out and chase the police around the car. I've seen it several times. They'll chase the police, shoot at the police. They won't get popped. But us, We getting shot down just for putting our hands in the air. Just for being who we are. And it ain't got nothing to do with skin color. It's about us as a nation, our race, the Israelites. When you read the Bible, you understand that these other nations hate us because of who we are, that we are chosen. Because there's other nations that got our skin complexion. But they ain't dealing with the atrocities that we go through. So I'm just bringing that out. But let's read on. Verse 67.
Verse 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And in even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
You see that? So it's going to be so bad in our lives where we're going to be wishing for the day to be over, wishing for the shift to be over just to go home. Then we get home, I got to get this rest just so I can go back to work. You see that? That's a curse. The Lord saying in the morning, thou shalt say, with God, it were evening. You at work in the morning, man, I can't wait till the night. Night come, I can't wait till the morning. That's a life of no ease, no peace. When you constantly waiting, just waiting on time to go by because you're not comfortable, you're not at peace. That's a curse. He said, for the fear of thine heart, wherewith thee shall fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. Seeing your brothers and sisters gunning each other down, seeing these other nations ruling over you. That's a fearful thing right there, especially when you have no might in your hand. Somebody could pick up the phone and lie on you, and somebody come in and try to snatch your kids away from you. Somebody could pick up the phone and lie at your job and make up some lie and get you fired. No might in your hand, no peace. You know? But these things happen because we don't keep the commandments. And we about to get into what the class actually going into. As you can see on the screen, this is dealing with a little history on New Year's festival. Why is this thing on the screen? All right. This way. All right. It says the New Year festival. Any of the social, cultural, or religious observations worldwide that celebrate the beginning of the new year. Such festivals are among the oldest and most universally observed. The earliest known record of a New Year festival dates from about 2000 BCE in Mesopotamia, where in Babylonia, the New Year Akitu began the new moon after the spring equinox. So even back in the ancient time, the new year began just like it does in the Bible during the spring. Babylon got you doing what? Celebrating the new year in the dead winter. That's foolish. While everything is still dead, they saying it's the new year. That ought to be a clue to you. They start a new year where everything is dead, meaning dead to understanding, no life in it. All right. But back in the day, they celebrated the new moon, or not new moon, but yeah, the new year with a new moon of a spring equinox mid-March. And in Assyria, with the new moon nearest the autumn equinox mid-September. For the Egyptians, the Phoenicians, and the Persians, can you mute your mic, King? And the Persians, the year began with the autumn equinox, September 21st. And for early Greeks, it began with the winter solstice, December 21st. On the Roman Republican calendar, the year began on March 1st. But after 153 BCE, the official date was January 1st, which was continued in the Julian calendar of 46 BCE. So this was done by the Romans, who actually set that up to be in January. Now, were we on the scene before the Romans? Yes. Where did the Assyrians or the Phoenicians get it from? Us. Keeping the new year when it's during the spring. But we didn't ever celebrate a new year or have a new year celebration. We had new moons, new month celebration, which we have every month. That's biblical. All right. It says, let me see where I wanted to go with this. I think that's all I wanted on that. Just to show that back in the day that the New Year's were actually celebrated during the springtime, but we celebrating here in Babylon the Great during the winter. and that was started from the Romans. All right. Now, what we were talking about earlier was how the Most High said, "Don't have no other gods before Him." Now, what we don't know as a people is that when we celebrate a new year, we're actually celebrating a god of the Romans called Janus, as you can see in this picture to the right. All right. It says, the ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus, is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. He is usually depicted as having two faces. The month of January is named for Janus. According to the ancient Roman farmer's almanac, Juno was mistaken as the tutelary deity of the month of January, but Juno is the tutelary deity of the month of June. So Janus presides over the beginning and ending of conflict and hence war and peace. The gates of a building in Rome, named after him, not a temple, as it is often called. But what I was getting at with this is to show you that the god of this new year is called Janus. And this represents what they do during before they actually drop the ball or do the countdown. All throughout the New Year's Eve day, they actually go through a process. If you watch TV, they'll go back and say, let's take a snapshot or go back and look at all the accomplishments or the successes, the great stories, or the downfalls throughout the year. That's what this guy represents, the past and the future. And then when it's talking about the future, it's always representing what? New Year's resolutions, plans that people set out to try to do throughout their year. Not knowing that they are actually serving and worshiping a god named Janus of the Roman religion. So that's something that our brothers and sisters have to pay attention to, because we celebrate their traditions and not knowing truly what it actually represents. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 right quick. Then we're going to jump to
the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes.
My bad, King. I meant to say Isaiah 28:15.
Okay.
Like Isaiah chapter 28, verse 15.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 28 and verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves.
You see that? So the Lord is letting us know that we make lies our refuge. A refuge is a place that a person resides in for protection. So we make lies our protection. We have, let me read it again. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. See that? We hide under these things. We think that, can you mute your mic, King? We think that celebrating New Year's is something good because we've been taught to do so throughout our lifetime, not knowing the true detriment that comes behind it. Excuse me. Knowing that majority of these holidays or these pagan holidays that our people celebrate actually represent the downfall of our people. They don't know because they don't do any type of research. Christmas coming around, hey, everybody just heads to the store because they put on Christmas movies, Christmas TV shows, Christmas cartoons. Everybody start wearing them ugly ass Christmas sweaters, putting up Christmas lights everywhere, playing Christmas music. So you start to get this spirit on you. They get you in another mood where you just want to work and spend your money. But you never do any type of research and say, well, why do we do these things? What does it actually represent? Where did it start? Who started it? Why did they start it? What's the benefit? Nobody ever questions anything. They just follow suit, follow blind, like damn zombies. I guess that's why everybody love watching zombie movies now. You know why? Because we take refuge in lies and we hide under. You know, but I'm gonna show you something that you don't know about New Year's. You know, while you out there trying to pick out your top hat and your big bottle of champagne, let's read about something that actually affects us as a nation of people concerning January 1st. All right. This is an article, and you can look it up yourself if you don't believe it. This was put out by Time magazine. And it's called The Slaves Dread New Year's Day the Worst, the Grim History of January 1st. Now you can see in this image that is our people on the auction block. And you got the slave master right here and right there, all in this picture, licking their chops on who they gonna buy. He's selling, they buying. All right. Let's read the article a little bit. Can y'all brothers read it? I'll read it.
Go up a little bit more. I got you. It says, Americans are likely to think of New Year's Eve and New Year's Day as a time to celebrate the fresh start that a new year represents. But there is also a troubling side to the holiday history. In the years before the Civil War, the first day of the new year was often a heartbreaking one for enslaved people in the United States.
You see that? In the United States, it was heartbreaking, a heartbreaking day. Today, everybody running around jolly, happy as hell. But for us, it was a heartbreaking day. Let's find out why.
In the African American community, New Year's Day used to be widely known as Hiring Day or Heartbreak Day, as the African American abolitionist journalist William Cooper Nail described it, because enslaved people spent New Year's Eve waiting, wondering if their owners were going to rent them out to someone else, thus potentially splitting up their families. The renting out of slave labor was a relatively common practice in the antebellum South, and a profitable practice for wild slave owners and hires.
You see that? See, back in the day, New Year actually represented a hiring day or a heartbreak day, where our people, even though we were already in captivity, but while in captivity, we were serving in captivity as a family, not individually, but as a family. But on New Year's Day, it came a point in time where the slave master would be out there renting out members of our family to other plantations. That's why we call hiring day or heartbreak day. Let's read on.
Hiring Day was part of the larger economic cycle in which most debts were collected and settled on New Year's Day, says Alexis McCorson, as an expert on the history of New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and a professor of history at Southern Methodist University, who writes about Hiring Day in her forthcoming book, Time Touchstone: The New Year in American Life. Some enslaved people were put up for auction that day or held under contracts that started in January. These transactions also took place all year long, and contracts could last for different amounts of time. These deals were conducted privately among families, friends, and business contacts, and slaves were handed over in town squares, on courthouse steps, and sometimes simply on the side of the road.
You see that? You see that? Our people don't know these things though. They think now that we can go out there and bust our guns off, we can turn up a bottle, go shoot some fireworks, or go to the club, everything's all good. And you don't even know about your own history. Like they say, what you don't know will hurt you or won't hurt you. This right here should be stuck in the back of every Israelite man and woman and child's mind. They should be knowing about their history as to what our enemies did to it. Because to be honest, what would stop them from being able to do that today? What would actually stop them? Think about that. Let's see. Accounts of cruelty of hiring day came from records left by those who secured their freedom, who described spending the day before January 1st, hoping and praying that their hirers would be humane and that their families could stay together. Of all the days in the year, the slaves dread New Year's Day the worst of any, a slave named Lewis Clark said in an 1842 account. On New Year's Day, we went to the auctioneer's block to be hired to the highest bidder for 1 year. Israel Campbell wrote in a memoir published in 1861 in Philadelphia, in which he describes being hired out 3 times. So this man right here was hired out 3 times and throughout his lifetime. Hired out, rented out as a slave. That's where the saying comes from. That which you do on New Year's Day, you'll be doing all the rest of the year. A former slave known as Sister Harrison said in an interview in 1937. You want to read some more, King?
Yes, sir. It says Harriet Jacobs wrote a particularly detailed account in the Slave's New Year's Day chapter of her 1861 autobiography, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. Hiring Day at the South takes place on the 1st of January. On the second, the slaves are expected to go to their new masters, she wrote. She observed slave owners and farmers renting out their human chattel for extra income during the period between the cotton and corn harvest and the next planting season. From Christmas to New Year's Eve, many families would wait anxiously to find out whether they would be rented out and to whom. On New Year's Day, at the appointed hour, the grounds are thronged with men, women, and children, waiting like criminals to hear their doom pronounced. Jacobs wrote.
You see that? Our people would be out there waiting to be gifted off, sold down the road on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. But our people don't have no idea as to what's going on. Read the last paragraph, King.
On one of these fateful days, Jacob saw a mother lead 7 children to the auction block.
7 children. Now, go ahead.
She knew that some of them would be taken from her, but they took all.
You see that? She said she knew that some of them was going to be taken. She got 7 kids. I know they're going to take some of them, but they took all. Took all her kids on New Year. Read on.
The slave trader who took the children wouldn't tell her where he was taking them because it depended on where he could get the highest price. Jacob said he would never forget the mother crying out, "Gone, all gone. Why don't God kill me?"
You see that? Even in that position, we still realize it was a God. But these same people that we high-fiving and celebrating, we were selling our ancestors off. We ain't had no might in our hand. But we out high-fiving and popping champagnes and blowing the kazoos together, throwing confetti together, not realizing that it wasn't that long ago where they were selling your ancestors off on New Year. You know? We were the Christmas gifts. But our people have no idea. They do no research. They just follow trends. But that's why we are here today, to open your eyes, to give you something to think about. Stop following blindly and awake to righteousness. Come back to who you are and start keeping these commandments. It's for the betterment of your life and for your people's life. Stop just following the ways of this world. All right. Now I wanted to show, you know what? I'm going to show you the curse that actually fits right there. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28:32.
Deuteronomy chapter.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 30.
Shalom, brother.
Go on, King.
What's happening, man?
Deuteronomy. Hold on, bro.
And let me jump in there if I can, brother.
Let me read this precept out right quick. Deuteronomy 28.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yes, sir. That what I was gonna jump on, but I'll wait.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
You see that? That's a curse right there when our brothers and sisters will be given into another nation. But we don't know these things. We just want to have a good time and go party. Blow the streamer. Tip with the top hat. Go kiss our girlfriends. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want to do on New Year's as a people. Happy as hell to do nothing. Representing the downfall of your people, the atrocities of our people. This is a curse that's put on our people that we have no idea that we are serving. All right. Moving on past this, I want to go to this other article. It's called the Historical Legacy of the Watch Night. And like the title says, it's the truth behind New Year's Eve, the origin of the night or the watch night. So we're going to go into what it actually is talking about. All right. As you can see right here, see your people in the church. Now, a lot of our people, we went to church all our lives, but why do we go to church on New Year's? Why do our people go to church on New Year's? Have we ever stopped and thought about these things? 9 times out of 10, we haven't. But we're going to figure out and we're going to read and find out why our people go to church, why they be holding night watch services. All right. Let's go down. Let's read that.
It says, it is for poetry and song, a new song. These cloudless skies, this balmy air, this brilliant sunshine are in harmony with the glorious morning of liberty about to dawn up on us.
So there was some lyrics of some poetry that was written going into what we're about to find out.
On the night of December the 31st, 1862, enslaved and free African Americans gathered, many in secret, to ring in the new year and await news that the Emancipation of Proclamation had back. Just a few months earlier, on September 22nd, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln issued the executive order that declared enslaved people in the rebellion Confederate States legally free. However, the decree would not take effect until the clock struck midnight at the start of the new year. The occasion, known as Watch Night or Freedom's Eve, marks when African Americans across the country watched and waited for news of freedom. Today, Watch Night is an annual New Year's Eve tradition that includes the memory of slavery and freedom, reflection on faith, and celebration of community and strength.
You see that? So what we find out right here is that on the night of December 31st, back in 1862, right before the Emancipation Proclamation had taken effect, our brothers and sisters were gathering together, waiting until the clock struck 12 so that that law would actually kick in, would take effect. That's why they were calling it the Watch Night or Freedom's Eve. Your brothers and sisters were not free celebrating New Year's. All those years from when they actually started it over here in this country. All the way up into 1862. Still wasn't free, but they were waiting on that law to take effect. So while we out there popping fireworks and busting guns off and pulling up, dancing in the club, realize that your people was enslaved, just like we were during 1775 when they had their so-called Independence Day. Now today we out there popping fireworks like we wasn't in captivity. You know, this is history right here, my brothers and sisters. They were waiting on the law to be signed by Abraham Lincoln to take effect for it to strike 12 midnight on September the 22nd, 1862. You see that? I mean, on December 31st, excuse me, 1862. They were waiting. He signed it on September 22nd, but it didn't go into effect to December 31st when it was crossing over into 1863. So they called it Watch Night or Freedom's Eve. It said today, Watch Night is an annual New Year's Eve tradition that includes the memory of slavery and freedom. Now, me, myself, personally, when I was in the world, I went to church services plenty of times on New Year's. Not one time did I ever hear this information come out. Not one time. Why? Because the church don't ever give you no history. It don't ever give you no history. We go and have been going in and out of these churches for years. AME, nobody even knows what it stands for. CME, nobody knows what it stands for. Baptist, where it came from, who founded it, nobody knows. We just going in there, clapping, stomping, following suit, don't ask no questions, thinking we doing something righteous, thinking we being holy, being foolish as hell. That's what we were being. This is actually a picture of the Proclamation of Emancipation that the president signed. All right. Let's read that right there.
Come on, King. May I bring out a precept?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 56 and verse 10. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs that cannot bark. Sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. And you was going in saying how in Christianity we grew up in for years. They never taught us about what happened to our forefathers, or what the day represents. You know, the watch night. So a lot of these pastors, they're dumb dogs, man. Especially these new school guys. They do not represent any part of history to keep us out of touch. What was really going on? They like dumb dogs, as the scripture says.
That's right. They don't give no history at all. They don't even talk about the wickedness that's going on in our own communities. They ain't gonna speak against the dope. They ain't gonna speak against the whoredom going on, the homosexuality, the lesbianism. They're not gonna speak against these things. Just love everybody. God loves everybody. No, he don't. Where you read that in the Bible? They can be anyway. Just love them. Just pray for them. Nah, the Lord ain't dealing with that. Where do you read that in the Bible? In fact, he tell you to love your brother and sister by rebuking the hell out of them, telling them when they going off. That's what you read in the Bible, though. You know, but these Christian pastors, they have us going off. They ain't barking at the thing they supposed to be barking at. They actually bringing it in. They got the gay pastor coming in there. He in there touching the little boys. You know, he's sleeping with all the women. He promoting it. That's why he ain't teaching against it. He promoting it. You know? But let's read this, King.
The watch night service is rooted in African-American religious traditions. During the first watch night, many enslaved African-Americans gathered to pray, worship, sing, and dance. At the time, enslaved Black people could find a little respite from ever-present surveillance, even in practicing their faith.
So what that was saying right there, in spite of ever-present surveillance, that meaning the slave master, the overseer, constantly watching them. You know what I'm saying? They could find little peace, even do these things because they were always being watched. You know?
White enslavers feared that religion, which was often used to quell slave resistance could incite the exact opposite if practiced without observance. They wrote laws that restricted worship in large gatherings, such as that in the 1848 Georgia Slave Code.
You see that? I bet our brothers and sisters didn't know that that was going on. I bet you didn't know that it was a code or law that was put in fact or put into fruition that did not allow us to gather together in large gatherings. You ever wonder why you be at work and 4 or 5 of y'all get together? Here come the what they said, the surveillance to come bust it up. You ever wonder why that keeps happening everywhere we go? If we at school and 6 of us together, hey, the damn surveillance is coming to bust it up. The opposite, the real op, is coming to bust that gathering up because it's instilled in them. It once was a law. And let me show that. Let me see. Did I pull that up? Let me see. This is from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. All right. Let me see. It got laws: illegal to marry, illegal to read, illegal to gather. Let's check that out. It said it shall not be lawful for more than 5 male slaves, either with or without passes, to assemble together at any place off the proper plantation to which they belong. That's an Alabama slave code from 1833. It says states and territories outlawing African American gatherings: Alabama, D.C., Georgia, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. These individuals had laws put in place that would prevent us from gathering together in large assemblies. But I guess our people don't want to know that as well. And now that you know these things, start looking for it when you are at work with your buddies, with your co-workers. If you work at a job or a facility that got a lot of Israelites that work there, see what happens when about 7 or 8 of y'all get in a group and start talking. They coming to bust it up. It's instilled in them. You know, I'm going to read this right quick, then we'll move on. In many states, African Americans were not permitted to gather in groups of more than 5. Yet people gathered all the time in woods and cabins on the back ways to dance, worship, celebrate, mourn, and lay claim to the areas outside white control. Many enslaved people privately buried their dead deep in the woods to avoid white interference. You see that? They had to go deep into the woods just to celebrate, to do anything together, even bury their own dead, so that the so-called white man wouldn't be able to interfere. Said a secret network of footpaths and waterways crisscrossed the South and helped free and enslaved people build the large community that enslavers feared. And you got to understand, why would they be fearing these things? Why would they fear us coming together? What the dude name is, J. Edgar Hoover. I think he was the leader, or not the leader. He was over the FBI. And he said the thing to fear most is the Negroes uniting, the African Americans unite. So their job is to keep us divided at every aspect of life. They want to keep us divided. They want to constantly keep an eye on us, because the moment we start gathering together, that means we up to something. That means we building, we unite. And when we unite, that's where our strength is at. And they know that. That's why they try their damnedest to keep us separated, you know. But I was just bringing this quick law out to show you that they would not allow us to gather together. It was illegal for us to gather with more than 5 brothers at one time. It was illegal. All right. Now, going back to that Emancipation Proclamation, I just want to read exactly what that was real quick before we move on, because that's what they were waiting on the watch night. They were in there waiting December 31st for the clock to strike 12 for this law to actually take place. So naturally, if you hear that, you would want to know exactly what it meant. So on September 22nd, can you read that, King?
Yes, sir. On September the 22nd, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln issued the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, which declared that as of January 1st, 1863, all enslaved people in the states currently engaged in rebellion against the Union shall be then this for and forever free.
Read on.
Lincoln didn't actually free all of the approximately 4 million men and women and children held in slavery in the United States when he signed the formal Emancipation Proclamation the following January. The document applied only to enslaved people in the Confederacy and not to those in the border states that remain loyal to the Union.
You see that? You see that? So that document was only for those for states in the South, for the states of the people in the Confederacy. So if you was in the South, that states were ordered to free us. That didn't mean we was free in the West. It didn't mean we was free up north. For those in the Confederacy. But that's what it was meaning. That's why people were gathering together, waiting for that law to take place in 1862. Emancipation Proclamation. That's what they were waiting on. All right. So where we want to go from there is to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. Lord willing, you brothers and sisters learning something from this class. I know it blew my mind doing the research. But what I find is our job to bring it right back to you so that you can learn and build from it.
You said chapter 3, verse 15?
Yes, sir.
Look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. That which have been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God required that which is past.
You see that? So the things that we read about in history that we went over in this class, it has happened before. These things will continue to happen, but it's our job to pinpoint it when it actually happened and take heed of it and to realize why they happen. You know, majority of these things happen to our people for constant rebellion. Even though we are being done wrong, our people still find it hard to do what's right. We are being done wrong constantly, but we don't want to do what's right. And that's keeping these commandments. We'll strive to do everything but what we are commanded to do and wonder why bad things happen to us. So before we move on to this article, let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1. 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1. 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1. Y'all there?
Going out now.
I'm on it now, King. Here it is.
All right.
The book
We're going to read that to verse 6, 1 to 6.
Come. The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, and verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God. Pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus, and that in Gorazim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. Verse 3. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people.
Sore and grievous to the people, just like us being sold on New Year's Day. You know, they were setting laws in place to keep us from being able to realize and recognize who we were as a people. You know what I'm saying? To do the things that was necessary. They didn't want us to read. They didn't want us to gather together. They didn't want us to unify. they always kept watch on us because they knew the minute that we started reading, started unifying, we're going to start remembering who we are and we're going to start building, and then we would overthrow them. So they had to keep a close watch on us at all times. And it ain't nothing new under the sun. That's why we brought that out in Ecclesiastes. These are the same things. We read in 2 Maccabees chapter 6 how the other nations, the Greeks, sent people to try to get us to go against the commandments of our Lord. The coming of this mystery was sore and grievous to the people. Let's read on.
Verse 4. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that brought in things that were not lawful. Verse 5. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days, or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
So right there, you read and you understand that they put laws in place to keep us from even being able to recognize ourselves for who we truly are. We knew we were Israelites. We knew we were Jews, but they forbade that. They would not allow us to do these things. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we are like we are today, because they kept putting those type of things into effect to try to destroy our name. You can read about that in Psalm chapter 83, how these other nations came together and said, we got to make sure that the name of Israel is no more in remembrance. So one of the things that they would do to do so would make laws so we couldn't call ourselves Jews or Israelites, or we wouldn't be able to keep the laws, the Sabbaths, or the feast days. That's why our people so hell-bent on keeping Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, and have no idea as to the feast days they supposed to be keeping for laws that were put in place. You ever wonder why the hell a black man is running around in damn green shirts and green suits with green hats on, talking about some St. Patrick's Day? Right. But they show you leprechauns and little white men walking around with green suits and 4-leaf clovers. What the hell that got to do with you? And I guarantee when you do a little digging, you'll find out that St. Patrick probably a black man. Just like the brother brought out last week about St. Nick, actually is a black man. Brother brought it out last week. All praise for that, King. But let's jump down to verse 9, and we're going to read to 11.
Verse 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles shall be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babes hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong on the wall.
You see that? So we was at a standstill, where if we were to keep these laws, they would put us to death. Whosoever would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. So you wonder why our people are so accustomed to taking on to these other religions. Why is it that the black man is in, or the Israelite man, woman, and child is so easily to be found in every religion on the earth? We in Buddhism, we damn atheists, we Baptists, we Presbyterian, we Episcopalian, we Mormons, we Jewish, we anything you can think of. You know what I'm saying? That's our people. And why? Because if we conform to anything but the manner of the Gentiles, we would be put to death. So if you wanted to live your life, you wanted your family to live, guess what you're going to do? If you weak in the spirit, you're going to sell out. Just like majority of our people be doing, selling out just to make a buck. But they were selling out just so they can live. So in verse 10, it was talking about two women that actually had children who circumcised their boys and was walking around town breastfeeding the boy and the heathen gonna cast them boys down headlong from the wall. Threw their babies headlong, head first off the wall for keeping the commandments, circumcising their children. But we still clapping and high-fiving with them, not knowing how wicked they truly are. Saying, oh, that's my friend, oh, that's my buddy. Nah, these people wicked as hell. Just like I showed in the video the other day, Malcolm X was bringing it out. They got the mindset of the fox and the wolf. You know what I'm saying? The fox, he'll run up and be, cunning with you, smooth talking. But his mindset is the same way as the wolf, to get that lamb chop on the plate. So if he get close to you, yeah, he probably won't have as much struggle to get you on the plate. But the wolf, he ain't going to hide it. He just going to come straight at you to try to take you down and put you on the plate. But the same ones that's rubbing shoulders with you, high-fiving and begging for you to come to their house, to come celebrate with them so they can knock you off. They got the same mentality, the same appetite as the wolf. So our people got to have that mindset. You got to be thinking with your eyes open, never trusting your enemies, following the commandments. But let's read on verse 11.
Verse 11. And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together, because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
You see that? Our brothers and sisters were being burnt to death for trying to keep the Sabbath. Because these other nations were trying their damnedest to do what? Keep us from keeping the commandments, to keep us away from our covenants, to keep us in wickedness, to keep us divided the same way they were doing when you read about New Year's. That's just another slick way of doing it. Rather than coming and burning your people down, they say, you know what? These people actually run our economy. So rather than trying to burn them, hang them, we'd rather have them to run the society, keep the businesses going, keep them spending the money. So rather than do that, let's make them be in sin by serving other guys without them even knowing it. We'll hide this information and tell them it represents something else, so they'll be off in idolatry and forsaking themselves and their covenants of their people, and they'll be worshiping our gods and mixing and mingling amongst us. They breaking the commandments still. So we ain't got to rape and rob them. We ain't got to hang them no more. All we got to do is beat them up mentally. That's exactly what they're doing. From there, let's go to Psalms chapter 10, verse 2. Psalms chapter 10, verse 2. And we're going to read to verse 9.
Verse 2. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. Verse 3. For the wicked boasts his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord abhor. Verse 4. The wicked, though the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts.
You see that? Not at all in his thoughts. He ain't seeking after the Lord. These other nations, even those wicked of our own people, they are not seeking after the Lord. They're seeking after their own vain opinions, their own thoughts. They're seeking after the help for the other nations, for the oppressive nation that are ruling over us. They ain't seeking after the Most High. Read on.
Verse 5. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them.
You see that? He puffing his chest out. You know what I'm saying? His ways are always grievous. Everything they do, they make it hard when it's simple. Go ahead.
Verse 6. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, or I shall never be an adversary. In adversity. Verse 7. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity.
This is going into a very descriptive, where the Lord is very descriptive in explaining and describing who the wicked are on this earth. Right now, it's explaining exactly how these type of people think and how they act, how they move. You know, they make things hard when it shouldn't be. They have a prideful mindset. They say in their heart they should not be moved. They should not be in adversity. They don't seek after God. They boast in their heart and they bless the covetous. You see that? Read on.
Verse 8. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places does he murder the innocent.
You
His
see
eyes,
that? Sitting in the innocent places, in the hidden places, lurking like a damn creep, you know, like a lion, waiting to murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. We are the poor. You can read about that in Revelation 2 and 9. The Lord said, I know thy works, thy poverty. He know we poor because we in captivity right now. You know? So the wicked, they constantly plotting on the poor. Read.
verse 9. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He does not catch the poor when he, excuse me, he does catch the poor when he draws him into his net.
You see that? So that's letting you know what? That the wicked is always lurking. They always got some type of scheme up they always got some up their sleeve. I put it that way. They always lurking. They always thinking on how to bring us down, how to keep us snared in the net. You know, that's why when you go to these stores, think about it. You go to a Walmart, you go over to the sporting section, they got all these different types of hooks, all these different types of bait, all these different type of fishing rods, nets to snare something, all these different types of guns, all these different types of bullets, camouflage, fatigues, all these different things, the mask, they scent, they smell, they very crafty, they very wicked. All these different things to help snare something. So when you think they'll put it out in the open for the public to buy it, just to go get some fish or hunt a deer, you don't think they plotting on your people? How can we destroy their families? How can we destroy their neighborhoods? How can we destroy the way that they think? How can we make the children not to be thinkers, but to be followers? How can we divide the household? How can we remove the father? Let's do an experiment. Let's put these people over here. Let's put these people over here and see how they react. Let's mess with the food and see how they react. Let's change the water up. Let's put lead in the water. See how they act. Let's put the worst restaurants, grocery stores in their neighborhood. See how they react. Let's give them guns and drugs and see how they react. Let's constantly keep them in the snare. Our people don't think, though. We just think that because we can go to job and make money and take a vacation, we good. Your enemy is constantly plotting on you. You got to wake the hell up, Israel. What they call it, PSA, wake the hell up. Realize you got enemies. Just because they slap palms with you and go to school with you, that does not make them your friend. They hate your guts. They want to be just like you, but they ain't going to be in your shoes. Because their job is to keep you down right now. They're not here to lift you up. Think about it. All right. From there, let's go to matter of fact, I'm gonna bring this out to show you and prove to you that they are here to punish you. Let's go to Psalm chapter 17, verse 13. Psalm 17 and verse 13.
The book of Psalm 17 and 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword.
Which is what?
Which is thy sword.
You see that? David saying, hey, Lord, raise up. Let me read that again. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, meaning the wicked, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. You see that? Pretty much explanatory right there. The Lord used these other nations as a sword, as a whipping rod, as a belt to put on our ass when we are disobedient. Excuse me. when we rebellious as hell, when we want to talk back, when we don't want to keep the commandments, we want to be rebellious to the parents, the Lord gonna send the other nations to put that belt on our head. And we wonder why things keep happening, why we can't get ahead as a people, why are we struggling. The Lord using these other nations to punish us. It's no secret. But when we keeping the commandments, they will be made our servants. When we rebel, they are used to punish us. It's that simple. So we need to come back to doing what we are supposed to be doing so that they can serve their actual purpose. You know? But you got something?
Yes, I had a precept. Hey, you got
Yeah.
first. I want to ask you, got 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2.
No, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna bring that out right quick. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. And so it was going into, that's why Paul said in verse 1, brethren. So a lot of our people thinking that that this is talking about the Gentiles of the other nations. No, these are talking about the Gentiles of our own people. And when it says right here in verse 2, ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. So the Lord allowed these heathen nations to lead us into these dumb idols. And like you was going over earlier, how we was worshiping the god Janus, you know, these Eve gods and different things like that. We was given those idols were given to us by the other nation, mainly Esau. You know, so that's why we in these conditions, because we serving these dumb idols. We are Gentiles. We're in the Gentile state of mind, you know, and led by our enemies to serve these dumb idols. You know.
That's right. So what I want to do now is go to this article, and we're gonna go back a little. Well, we're gonna come up in history a little bit. This is after the Greek captivity, going up to when we were in Spain, and that's where you get the terminology, or a lot of people saying they into the Moor science or whatnot. That we Moors, the word Moor just mean black, just like Negro just mean black, you know. But we're gonna move up to 1492. All right. And this is from History, the History Channel, or history.org or .com. And it's Spain announces it will expel all Jews. All right. This is in 1492. King Ferdinand of the second of Aragon and Queen Isabella of Castile conquered the Nazarene Kingdom of Granada, finally freeing Spain from the Muslim rule after nearly 800 years. Not long after, the monarchs, whose marriage and conquest cemented Spain as a unified kingdom, issued the Alhambra decree mandating that all Jews be expelled from the country. All right. Now, what is the Alhambra decree? Let's go to that right quick. Alhambra decree, also known as the Edict of Expulsion, it was an edict issued on the 31st of March in 1492 by the joint Catholic monarchs of Spain, Isabella and Ferdinand, ordering the expulsion of practicing Jews from the crowns of Castile, Aragon, and its territories and possessions by July 31st. The primary purpose was to eliminate the influence of practicing Jews on Spain's large formerly Jewish converso new Christian population, to ensure that the latter and their descendants did not revert to Judaism. Damn. Over half of Spain's Jews had converted as a result of the religious persecution and pogroms, which occurred in 1391. Due to continuing attacks, around 50,000 more had converted by 1415. So our people were actually in that land, in Spain, before the Edomites came, or before the Spaniards came. So they came trying to take over that land, and we were there as they were trying to convert us to their Catholic religion. Let me see. A further number of those remaining chose to convert to avoid expulsion. Excuse me. So a lot of our people, rather than die or be exiled, they chose to convert over to their Catholic religion. That's so strong over there. As a result of the Alhambra decree and persecution in the years leading up to the expulsion of Spain, Spain's estimated 300,000 Jewish or origin population, a total of over 200,000 had converted to Catholicism, and to remain in Spain, and between 40,000 and 100,000 remained Jewish and suffered expulsion. Now, just for bringing that out to show you that it was a decree, the Alhambra decree was that decree that Ferdinand and Isabella actually put together to get us kicked out of that land. All right. Now, let me read this article right quick. It says in 1478, matter of fact, before we go on, let's get Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 10, verse 1. Woe unto them that decree righteousness decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed.
It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they had prescribed. So the Lord said destruction to those individuals who decree unrighteous decrees. They were trying to turn us away from our fathers, just like it was doing in the Greek captivity. When the Greeks was trying to turn our people from following the law. It was the same thing that these Spaniards, or the Spaniards, Ferdinand and Isabella, were trying to do to our people. Put laws in place, edicts in place, the Alhambra decree to expel us if we didn't want to convert over to being Catholics. And a lot of our people, as we just read in the other article, said, the hell with it. I'll go ahead and convert because I want to live my life. Just like in times past, a lot of our people put off the ways of the Lord to go be Greeks or to call themselves anything but a Jew. Like I said before, like the scriptures say before, it's nothing new under the sun. What has done or has been done will be done. There's nothing new under the sun. So I'm going to keep reading on this article. It says in 1478, Ferdinand and Isabella had instituted the Inquisition, an effort by the Spanish clergy to rid the country of heretics, pogroms, individual acts of violence against Jews, and anti-Semitic laws had been features of Catholic Spain for over a century before the Alhambra order, causing deaths and conversions that greatly reduced Spain's Jewish population. Having already forced much of Spain's Jewish population to convert, the church now set about rooting out those who suspected of practicing Judaism in secret. The same thing that was going on when our brothers and sisters were going into them caves, which you read about in 2 Maccabees, trying to keep the Sabbath. Now, they saying Jewish in this article because they are the ones who are basically in control in this world. But it wasn't the Jewish, it was the actual Jews. And the word Jew is short for Judah, the southern kingdom. And we got that name or that term when we came out of the Babylonian captivity. So this is years down the road after Christ hit the scene. This is 1478. So they saying Jewish in this article, but it's actually referring to us as a nation of people. So it says, after ordering that Alhambra decree or that order causing deaths and conversions that greatly reduced Spain's Jewish population. Having already forced much of Spain's Jewish population to convert, the church now set out about rooting out those who suspected of practicing Judaism in secret, oftentimes by extremely violent methods. Extremely violent methods. What are some of those extremely violent things that we're talking about, or they writing about in this article? It's called something that they had called the auto da fe. Auto da fe. I'm gonna read this right quick. 1481, This coming out of the book Beyond Time, Beyond Place. It's 1481, February 12th, the first auto de fe in Seville, Spain. 6 converso Moranos, men and 6 women were burned alive for allegedly practicing Judaism. Diego de Suzan, a prominent merchant, and the others were turned in by his daughter. And that's also another script. I didn't write it down, but it's a precept, if you brothers could get it, where the Lord was saying that the son would turn in the father, and the father would turn against the son. And they would basically be offering the people up who follow and keep these commandments, offering them up to the enemy. If you could find that for me. But I'm going to go back to this article. It says, let me see. Diego de Susan, a prominent merchant, and the others were turned in by his daughter. The auto de fe, the act of faith, combined the judicial ceremony of the Inquisition with vociferous sermons. An individual could be denounced for having lapsed back into his old religion or committing heresy. Although the Inquisition and the auto de fe was used on anyone accused of heresy, its main victims were Jews, the Israelites. The Inquisition accused people of backsliding or heresy for actions such as not eating pig, not eating swine, not eating pork. You see that? For whatever reason, washing hands before prayer, changing clothes on the Sabbath, etc. Over 2,000 auto de fe are said to have taken place in the Iberian Peninsula and in its colonies. The number of victims in Spain alone is estimated at over 39,000, many of whom were burned alive. Some were burned in effigy. Others, convicted posthumously, were dug up and burned. You see that? Dug up and burned. And the property they left was confiscated from their heirs. Approximately 340,000 people, many of them Jews, suffered at the hand of the Inquisition. Although the vast majority were given lesser punishment, the last auto de fe was held in 1790. And I don't believe that to be true, because I think I got another article to show that. But did y'all brothers find that precept?
Yes, sir.
Bring it out, King.
Con. This is the book of St. Luke, chapter 12 and verse 53. The father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father. The mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother. The mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And he said also to the people, when ye see the cloud rise out of the west, straightway ye say, there cometh a shower, and so it is.
Oh, praise.
So like you can, I was going to start with verse 52 too. I went to verse 53, but let me read verse 52. For from henceforth there shall be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. And that's when so on, the father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father.
That's right. So what we were reading in that other article was showing how a man was actually turned in to the Inquisition by his own daughter. You know? All right. So what I'm gonna do now is go to this book. And it was a book actually written by the Amalek. Mute your mic, King. It's called the Jews and Moors in Spain by Rabbi Joseph Krospokoff. On the 2nd day of January, 1481. Is this showing on the screen?
No.
Okay. All right, hold on. What about now?
Yes.
All right. This book is called The Jews and the Moors in Spain. And it reads, yeah, that's it. Hey, let me get Matthew chapter 10, verse 21. Matthew 10 and 21.
The book of Matthew and verse 21. 10 and verse 21. And it says, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death.
You see that? That's prophecy right there. That's going to continue to happen. So if you're in this truth, hey, brothers and sisters, you need to be prepared for these things. These things may happen. Not that it will happen to everybody, but it may happen. So be prepared for that as well. And that's exactly what happened when we read that article. His own daughter gave him up to be put to death. When the Inquisition came along, when they came and started asking questions and put her back up against the wall, threatening her, she gave up her father. These things will happen. You have to be prepared for these. That's why it's important right now to be building up your faith and your understanding. All right. So going to this book right here, once again, it's called The Jews and the Moors in Spain. And it says on the 2nd day of January, 1481, the Inquisition commenced operation in the city of Seville with Thomas de Torquemada, an Inquisitioner General. I'm going to jump down to the highlight. It says, the severity and savage awkwardity of it may be best learned from the appalling fact that during the 18 years of the Torquemada ministry, an average of more than 6,000 convicted persons suffered annually from this cruel tribunal by burning, or by condemnation to lifelong slavery, or by endless torture, making an average of nearly 17 a day. So they were burning 17 people a day. This ain't too long ago. We have to keep memory of these things and realize why the Lord tell us, remember the days of old. He ain't just talking about biblical time. He's talking about after Revelation, after John was finished writing what he wrote, it was still history that continued to happen. So we can't just overlook everything and say, hey, we ain't in slavery no more. Hey, we can go to work, we can make money, we can go on vacation, we can drive nice cars, we can play basketball and football now. Now the Lord tell us to remember the days of old. Remember the bad and the good, you know. All right. Let me see. It says all this to protect the interests of religion, not to protect people, human beings, but to the interests of religion. It says it was sufficient to burn a convert as a relapsed heretic upon the mere accusation of crimes such as these, that he wore better clothes on cleaner linen on the Jewish Sabbath than on other days of the week, that he had no fire in his house on the Jewish Sabbath, that he ate the meat of the animal slaughtered by Jews, that he abstained from eating pork, that he gave his child. Can't read the rest of it. But these other people know what's going on. They see us starting to wake up and not come to work on the Sabbath. They see us not eating swine, seeing us put dressing better on the Sabbath, coming together on the Sabbath. They paying attention. They looking. Pretty soon it's going to come right back to that same agenda, where they're going to be trying to get us to turn away from our God. These things constantly happen throughout time. But this is what you call an auto de fe. All right. What is it? Auto de fe, from Portuguese, meaning act of faith, so they say, was the ritual of public penance or torture carried out between the 15th and 19th centuries of condemned heretics and apostates imposed by the Spanish, Portuguese, or Mexican Inquisition as punishment and enforced by civil authorities. in most extreme form was death by burning. Death by burning. Now, what they try to push off on you today is that they used to do the burning of the witch at the stake, which they did do. But they ain't gonna tell you about how they used to burn your people to try to get you to turn away from your God, to turn away from your heritage, from the laws in your covenant. They're not gonna tell you these things, because that would show you how wicked they actually are. How they were forcing you to convert to their ways. Otherwise, you would be put to death. Think about that. It's no coincidence. The same individuals who are ruling the world force these things on you. That's why you follow New Year's Eve to a T. That's why you follow St. Patrick's Day. That's why you at pep rallies doing what they tell you to do. You know, going out spending all your money to buy Christmas gifts because they put it on you. They instilled it in you. This right here, let me see if I can move it right quick. This is a picture of the last building that they were doing this in Mexico. It says, when we read the book earlier in Sevilla, it said the first out of the faith took place in 1481, but the last one took place in Mexico in 1850. And this was the building that they actually did it in. And it's actually a museum that you can go check out. All right. Let me go back. Bear with me, Israel. Let me put something else on the screen right quick.
Let me get out the precept real quick then, King.
All right.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow. No reference to ancient gray hairs of the age. You know, so, and then verse 11, let our strength be the law of justice. For that which is feeble is found to be nothing. So they try to oppress us with their laws, keeping us from learning our history, keep us from carrying our traditions, like he was bringing out in the book of Jews in Spain and Moors. If I'm pronouncing the book right, you know, they try to use their laws against us. You know, try to use their, use their oppressive ways to get us from following our laws and commandments that God gave us, our culture.
Right.
So their whole agenda is really like Esau doing today. And that's how they're doing, like you said, it's going to come out again, where they're going to keep oppressing the poor righteous man, like ourselves that's trying to do right, keep the Lord's commandments, and follow the Esau laws as well. And Esau's still going to try to come up a way to oppress us.
Right.
You know? But that's all I want to bring up.
All right. So what I want to do now, mute your mic, King. All right. I'm going to go to this book. It's called The Inquisition of Judaism, a sermon addressed to the Jewish martyrs on the occasion of an out of the faith. All right. This book was written in 1843. All right. It says, sermon of the Out of the Faith, celebrated in the public square in the city of Lisbon, near the office of the Inquisition on the 6th of September, 1705, in the presence of their highness. All right. So this was in Lisbon in 1705 or 1706. All right. Let me see. In the following page will be found a sermon delivered by the Archbishop to a number of Israelites. You see that? Israelites, not Jewish, not Jews. He said Israelites, hapless victims of the Inquisition, preparatory to the unhallowed celebration of an auto da fe. So they were celebrating the fact that they were getting ready to put us to death by burning them. And they mentioned us as Israelites, not Jewish, not Israelis, Israelites. All right. I'm gonna read this at the bottom. It says, "How greatly do I pity your degradation, O children of Israel? How many tears of blood I shed through compassion for your misfortune, contemplating what you are at this day and what you formerly were." So they know how great we were and are. All right. This is page 3. It says, "In ancient times, the water held you in respect, and no less the flames. This day, fire will feed on you and your ashes. Cast into the sea, will find a tomb in the waters. Now everybody shuns your society. Anciently, everybody courted your friendship. Anciently, trumpets sounded the glory you reaped from the observance of your law. This day, trumpets proclaim your infamy. In the superstitious observance, I will not say to an expiring law, but of a law actually extinct at the time. To be a Jew is considered a reproach in every country. Formerly, to be a Jew was deemed an honor throughout the world. Formerly, your tents in the desert were dwellings wherein heaven showered upon you in its favors. Now your depopulated habitations are dwellings wherein the fire of justice reduces you to ashes." You see that? How these people spoke to us right before they burned us? Could y'all see that?
Man, I seen that, King.
Okay. I just make sure it was on the screen.
Huh.
But I just wanted to bring it out through this book that was written back in the 1800s. So it wasn't a book that was written where we would read it because we weren't allowed to read. But this is actually words that they spoke to our people out of this book before they put us to death by burning us. So they know exactly who we are and they know what their motive is. They are the sword of the Lord when we break his commandments. Through evil communication and smooth talk, smooth as butter words, they have convinced us to follow in their traditions and their custom and forsake ours. To chase after their gods and their traditions, we have forsaken our gods, our forefathers, our heritage, everything about us. To celebrate something that actually is a celebration of our demise. And they constantly remind us day in and day out what they have done to us. Let's go back to the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, and we're going to go to verse 12 and read to 17. 2 Maccabees, chapter 6. Second Maccabees chapter 6, and we're going to start at verse 12 and read to 17.
The book of 2 Maccabees. Go ahead, King.
Book of 2 Maccabees 6 and verse 12. Now I beseech thee that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation.
So the Lord is telling us, when you read this book, don't be discouraged because you read about the calamities that befell our people. Don't be discouraged and say, I don't know if I can do that. That's not what this happened for. The Lord said, but they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for the chastening of our nation, for the correction of our people. When you read about these things, that ought to make you want to get your ass in gear. I put it that way. You know what I'm saying? That's what it should make you do when you read these scriptures. Oh, we supposed to be doing that. I never knew that. It's for this reason I need to start doing it. We shouldn't be saying, well, nobody's perfect and not even try. Or I ain't never knew that. Oh, well. Nah, when you read about your history, start putting it into effect. So the Lord's saying when you read these things, don't be discouraged. Read on.
Verse 13. For it is a token of great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. Verse 14. For not as with other nations whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins. So dealeth he with us. Verse 15. Lest that being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us. Verse 16. And therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us. And though he punish with adversity, yet does he never forsake his people. Verse 17. But let this that we have spoken be for warning unto us. And now will we come to the declaring of the matter in few words.
You see that? So the Lord is saying these things that happen to us, this is a token of great goodness. When the wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For now that the other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbear to punish, till they come to the fullness of their sins, so he will deal with us. So he's saying, don't be discouraged when you read about the things that's happening, because they're only happening because we are being rebellious as a people. He gonna deal with the other nations. He's a just God, not an unjust, but a just God. But he waiting until the sins of these nations have reached their peak. You know what I'm saying? Everything that the Lord do is done in measurables. Just like the clock, it's not going to change to the next minute until them 60 seconds then went by. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with these other nations. When they sins have reached that peak, that tipping point, then he going to do what he got to do. But we got to do what we supposed to be doing in the meantime. Waking our people up, bringing them back into the fold so that the laws of God are sealed in our minds. Then he'll come back, tip that bucket over, and put that fire on their head. You know? But if we don't realize these things because we don't read, then we're going to stay in this situation and it's just going to prolong itself. But from there, let's go to Lamentations chapter 3, verse 40 and 41. And that'll be my last one.
Yeah.
Lamentations chapter 3, verse 40. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 40 and 41. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 30. 3 and 40, excuse me.
The book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 40.
40 and 41.
40. Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 40. Let us search and try our ways and turn again to the Lord. Let us lift up our heart with our hands unto God in the heavens.
So let us search our ways in the things that we do and try our ways and turn again to the Lord. That's what we need to be doing as a nation of people. We got to consider our ways, turn from our wicked ways, come back to the Lord. Lift up our hands to the heavens, to the Lord, praising him, you know, so that he can pardon us of our sins and our wickedness, so that he can bestow upon us the knowledge and wisdom that we need as a nation. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to hold you anymore. Today's class was called The Truth Behind New Year's Eve, the origin of the watch night. Lord willing, you understand truly now where the New Year's tradition or festival actually started, what God it actually represents. It's not the God of the Bible. It's a Roman god called Janus. You know, and our people during the ancient times or during slavery times here in Babylon the Great, on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, we were being rented out to other plantations. Our families were being broken up. While we sitting here today celebrating, our people were being destroyed on this particular day. So it's not a day that we should be celebrating when our people were being destroyed on this day. Even in past times, they were gathering today. Not today. During the Emancipation Proclamation law on December 31st in 1862, in the church gathering together, even though they weren't permitted to do so, they were actually putting their lives on the line at that particular time, just waiting on the stroke of a pen to take effect. Once again, we were in slavery, you know, so our people had to consider these things. that our people were burnt to death for trying to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And our people today be boastfully saying our people died to vote. We didn't die to vote. We died as a nation of people for keeping these commandments. We died today because we don't keep the commandments. You know, it's not about voting. It's about keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Our people were burned alive. They got books, they got history. All we got to do is do a little research. But the main thing we need to do is consider our ways, turn from our wickedness, and come back to serving Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Forget all this wickedness of this world. Find out truly who you are and stand on that. Stand for something, goddamn. Stop standing and following everybody. Use your brain. The Lord gave it to you for a reason. Use your brain. Stand up for something. But nonetheless, I'm your brother Ananias.
Brother Ezekiel.
Yeah, brother
Brother
Bai.
And Brother Yakub.
And we are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. Lord willing, you gain some knowledge from this class tonight. We want to say again to you, happy Sabbath. Continue to stay in this fight. Continue to endure. Brace yourself. Build yourself up, because these times will occur again. As we read throughout this class, how this persecution going to continue to happen. So you got to continue to build yourself up. Stop falling for the okie doke. Stop following the ways of the heathen. And come back to who you truly are as a nation, so-called black man, Hispanic man, Native American man, woman and child. Come back to who you are. Come back to your heritage. Have faith in the Lord and keep his commandments, and we'll get the hell up out of here. But on that note, we want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. We say shalom, shalom, peace, and greetings to you all. Much love and respect, and keep pushing at all times. And we say shalom to you.
Shalom.